All right, so another week, another episode. We went from, in my opinion, one of the most exciting episodes in this series so far. And what 28 episodes we're in, or whatever. And then we're going back down. We're hitting that time of year. It feels like we're gonna get a couple more filler episodes. Really, the only major kind of plot in here is that we got the I'm not even going to pronounce the name, but it was basically the Ultra Megazord, the fuse combined, the huge one of every single, well, I guess technically person, because in this season, the people are the Megazords, so we technically got the whole combination. That was about it. So basically, the last, 5 minutes is what you really want to watch if you're just looking for plot. This episode, though, really was just, it was basic about a woman trying to get a painting back of her dead, I guess, crush, because well, maybe they dated for a little bit, but they never like married or anything, never got engaged or anything. And she burns it in the end. So we ended up, doing a whole episode for nothing. Yay! And we'll talk about the very end, because I was dying for about a minute straight at the very, very end of this episode before we got a preview for next week. That one looks really fun next week. I can't wait for that. But to start off, we got basically one of those, I don't know what type of cliche to call it, but it's basically like one of the main characters is fighting the other main characters to try to save, in this case, a monster, the monster of the week. And, they're like, we got to go back in time to figure out why is Don Black doing this. So we go back in time, and we open up with Don Black leaving, having lunch, leaving the restaurant. And, he gets into a fight with the cops. And then we see this woman carrying a umbrella. And as he gets away from the cops and kind of hides, we find out that the former chief now, because he resigned, I guess recently. So I guess it was probably before that big fight we had in the last episode. Unless there was like a week time skip or something in between. But we know he's a bestial. But we know now he's not a cop anymore. He's resigned. And now he's probably just out to kill Don Black. Because essentially, he's the reason why the cops are chasing after him. Because again, he's a bestial, and he told them, like, hey, like, if you can avoid the cops for a year, you can see the love of your life. But then they obviously lied and whatnot. So then he comes out, Don Black comes out of his hiding spot, and the woman pops right up next to him and says, hey, like, I want your help. You're a thief, so I want to, I need your help with something. And he declines, says no, supposed to walk away. And she throws, or not throws, but she like hooks the umbrella. It's open, and like pulls him back and blinds him with the umbrella, which I thought, that's kind of smart. If you're trying to keep someone from going away and not, walking away, just, if you have an umbrella, just open it up, put it in front of them, and blind them for a second, and then they're stuck there as you just try to explain. So I thought that was kind of cool, kind of innovative. That I've never seen that before in any show. Maybe there's been a show out there that's done that, but I've never seen it. So then, she's like, hey, like, everyone here, hey, like, there's a fugitive right here, like, hey, come get him. So he's like, hey, like, shut up, I'll help you. And then so they go to sit down at a little, I never know what to call them. It's basically like a little area with a bunch of seating. I guess it could be like an outdoor type of restaurant area, but it's like, so it's surrounded by a bunch of buildings and whatnot. I should find out what the name of that is, because I never know. But it's basically just it's like a seating area. And then all of them have umbrellas, because obviously, the day they're recording, it was overcast, kind of cloudy, so it probably rained and whatnot. And so they're sitting there talking, and, she tells them, like, hey, I want to steal a painting. I want to get a painting back that's mine. And he's like, really? I'm out of here again. So she has a microphone with her and goes, hey, fugitive's right here. I don't know where she got that, but she has that. So he's like, okay, you know what? Dang it. So he runs back and says, shut that thing off and I'll help you. So then they kind of go to, kind of a separate area, kind of around, I guess, like underneath the highway. They were kind of on these like step things, kind of talking. She kind of tells him like, hey, like that's my ex-boyfriend who's we find out he's dead later on. And it's like he wanted me to have it, and I guess somewhere along the way she lost the painting, and someone else, which we find out is his old assistant, actually not steal it, but kind of took the painting because he was kind of jealous of, hey, like, you guys are like in a thing here, and I'm kind of like a third wheel, and I just I don't want to deal with it. So he kind of goes off on his own, becomes his own artist, and so the painting ends up going up for auction, and so we find out she's rich. So she could whole time she didn't need help. She could have just said, hey, I'm gonna go find that painting. I'm gonna go up to the guy and say, here's well, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, 50 million. Here's 50 million for the thing, which is what ends up being the final bid for that. So they go through, they go to the auction. We see we see Kaito wants the painting, and sends Don Blue and Don Yell to go there. We see the Don Pink's boss for his work for the whatever law firm or whatever it is. I forget what he does. His boss wants it, so Don Pink and another worker from that gets sent to go get that. Excuse me. And so then they obviously don't see each other until Don Black slips up, drops the. They're numbered for basically, the user or whatever. He drops it, kind of turns around, and both Don Blue and Don Pink realize it, who are sitting on separate sides. They don't realize they're there separately. I guess they didn't make it out like Don Yellow noticed. I don't know. So then Don Pink's like, I'm fired up, and he goes 12 million, 14 million, 15 million. Just stands up, and the other worker's like, hey, come down. You want to get us fired and whatnot? So eventually it goes up to, it was like 27 million or something like that, and we see the woman kind of having flashbacks of, hey, like, I used to go there, sit there, I get bored of this, and they talk about, hey, like, you're in my bondage because you keep coming back to me to, do this painting and whatnot. So very weird stuff. So, we see that, and she's like, 50 million! and everyone just sits like, what? Like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can have that much money. So then, damn Kaido, man. This guy... So the dough balls, which have been kind of brought up kind of a couple times throughout the series so far, kind of helped Don Red kind of get his strength back and whatnot in one of those episodes. Tells them to say 100 million of those dough balls. Now I forget what the name is, but 100 million of those dough balls, and everyone falls over. And I'm just like, Kaito! They're using real money, which it's probably 50 million yen is what I would assume it is. They're using real yen, real money, and this man's trying to bribe him with a food. What the? God. Okay, Kaito. So you're loaded enough to have, I think it was like 10 million or whatever was their highest bet before, again, everyone kind of just outbid them, and Kaito comes back, let's give him a snack. I don't even know. That's not even the funniest, but the funniest bit, again, comes at the very end of this episode. And so, again, she ends up winning the painting because they're like, it's kind of off screen. We don't see them. They kind of decline the offer. So she wins it, 50 million. And so she has a meeting with the artist, which ends up being the assistant that I mentioned before. And so she kind of drops this bag on the thing, picks up the painting, and starts to leave. And the assistant realizes, like, hey, they're blank. Like it's just cut out to look like money, and it's blank pieces of paper. So then she transforms into a monster and just grabs Don Black, and drags him through, and they go to, basically it's like a there's just garbage all around, so like a place where people just dump garbage and whatnot. And she just kind of throws it and says, "Hey, like that's a fake. Like I don't want that." Um, so they realize like, "Hey, like we gotta steal the real one now." And so they figure out that hey, the assistant has it at his house. And Don Blue and Don Yellow are asked to guard the painting, and so the artist gets distracted, calls Don Yellow beautiful, says, "Hey, like be my model," and she's like, "Yeah." And then we see her; she's in like a sundress hat and wearing all yellow, and she's blowing up a yellow balloon. And he tells her when she's got it about probably like 3/4 of the way of what you would blow a balloon up. She says, or he says, "Hold it right there. Like that's what I want. That's what I want. To look like." So she's sitting there in essentially frozen so he can start drawing the painting. And Don Blue falls asleep, and so the woman transforms into the monster because they're agreed. Sneaks in, grabs the painting. Don Blue shows back up and says, "Hey, I figured you guys out. I knew you were coming." And I was not expecting this because I was kind of expecting a fight right there. Out of nowhere, Don Black comes in, hits him on the back, hits Don Blue on the back, sends him flying across the room, and they book it out of there. And instead of taking the door to go back to the garbage field, whatever you want to call it, it's evading my mind right now. They decide we're gonna run through the house, and they get outside the front door of the guy's house, and that's when we go. You get back to the beginning where we see the beginning of where they were all about to fight. So that's when Don Red and Don Pink show up to help. They're like, what the heck are you doing helping a monster? And he's like, hey, I gotta do this. I gotta help her. She'll turn back into a normal person in a little bit. But they, start fighting her. She tries to run away, but the motion sensor doors crack open and slowly, so that gives time for Don Blue to run over, grab her, pull her away. Tries to take the painting. Don Blue uses his gun, gets it up in the air, catches it, and so they start fighting the monster. As Don Black's like, "Am I supposed to help? What am I supposed to do here?" And so she uses her monster powers and explodes, sends everyone flying, and then that's when the Sixth Ranger shows up, gets into a little bit of fight. Don Red is like, "Hey, you're not stealing my spotlight," so they kind of team up, kill the monster. It grows giant, and Don Black's like, "Hey, I'll explain everything after. Let's go free her from the curse of the monster and whatnot. Let's get her back to a normal human." And so they transforms into the Robothra forms, which this episode also confirms that the Sixth Ranger can be human size, I guess is the way to put it, in his Megazord. So just like the Robothra forms, this is Sixth Ranger's kind of Robothra form, and it can be normal human size. So we'll probably get a fight or two, maybe very soon with that. We didn't see anything in next week's trailer, but we now know that he can be human size and fight. So they do grow. They combined. Again, form the Ultra Mega Super Megazord, and just start using all these powers to beat up the monster. It was probably maybe 3 minutes, and there was a lot of action in there. For what I assume is mostly CGI, they were flying around fluidly with the CGI and whatever. So, there's sometimes where, Sentai Rider CGI just does not look good. And obviously, this isn't huge, big budget movie stuff, but this was fluid. This looked good. This looked like a step up in the direction of early Revice. That'll be a good example. Stuff like that. I was not a fan of early Revice with the CGI. Kind of fit with what they were doing, but it was wonky and whatnot. This actually looked very good. So I don't know how long they've been working on this. Probably since before the season started. So that's probably what? I guess February. So maybe after. Maybe early or mid-spring, early spring since then. Because again, we are in early September. So this is not a week process. But they beat the monster. She goes back to normal size. None of the other Don brothers show up for some reason. As she grabs the painting. Only Don Black comes back to show up. So I mean, technically, like, he never explained it because he just went running off with her again. And so they go back to the place with all the garbage and start a fire. And she burns it. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, you just did all that to burn it. And she's like, well, he called it a failure. And he said, when I die, I want you to burn this. So she's respecting his wishes. And yeah, that's essentially the episode. Next week, we're getting a funeral for Sonai, the evil Blue Ranger. So I'm excited for that. Don Red is actually going to show up to the funeral. We are going to get the Don Purple versus Sixth Ranger. We're going to get another round of that. I guess it's technically round 2 or round 3 already of that. So I'm excited. Next week looks really interesting. I'm excited for that. Hopefully, I'm praying they don't screw this up because there has been times where some of the trailers look good. And it's just not been a good episode. But there's also been times where the trailers have not looked that good. And I find it really interesting. Oh, I forgot to talk about the very end. So, the very end of the episode, I forgot to mention. So, Don Yellow goes back to the cafe and says, like, here, like, Kaito, like, I got you a painting and whatnot. So, he's all excited, like, oh my god, like, you actually got it? You actually somehow got it? Rips it open, and it's the painting of Don Yellow blowing up the balloon. and she goes, so, where are we going to hang it? And Kaito just, here you go. Walks up and says, I don't want this. I died for a minute straight. That was very good. I like that setup. I liked just how they did the whole scene. I thought that was a very if you have not seen it, this is, in my opinion, this is one of the reasons to watch this episode. Obviously, don't just watch the very end, because again, you need to know the context, which I guess that kind of explained, but I enjoyed it. That was good. That was some very good comedy in there. So again, next week we're getting a funeral for Sonai. Maybe he comes back alive. We're gonna get some more details on the Cerebrians. We see some others, some people in masks show up. So maybe there's more Cerebrians out there. Maybe those are bestials in disguise or something. But I'm excited for next week. So for now, like the video, share the video around. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm out of here. Peace.